Have you ever been spending hours preparing for this cool boss fight and then the party's wizard just Alakasa? And all of a sudden, that awesome boss fight that you've spent all weekend designing, I just defeated in the first round. Well, I have tried that, and it sucks. These 5 spells are sure to ruin your session if you haven't prepared for them. Coming up right here. Hello, fellow nerds. In this video, I'm going to talk about what I consider the 5 most game-destroying spells from Player's Handbook that if you haven't prepared for them are sure to destroy your final boss fight. I'm also going to provide you with a few tips as to how to deal with each spell. Hang on to the end for a bonus spell that did make it on to the top 5 list. Let's get started.
Number 5. Prismatic Wall.
So first on this list we have Prismatic Wall, which is an incredibly strong spell in so many ways. It can completely dominate the battlefield. You can create a wall to split the battlefield in half, or you can make a sphere to lock down a single enemy, or a group of enemies for that matter. The spell remains in place for 10 minutes and it has a range of 60 feet. You have no save to avoid being caught inside it, and once inside it there is only one way of removing the entire spell at once, and that is a Rod of Cancellation, because everyone has one of those. This sphere consists of 7 layers, with each of their color. The wall can be destroyed 1 layer at a time by means specific to each layer. For instance, the first layer requires you to deal 25 cold damage, the 4th layer requires a pass wall spell or similar. Only 1 layer can actually be dispelled by Dispel Magic, and that is the 7th layer, which is also probably the weakest layer of them all. Also, an anti-magic field has no effect on Prismatic Wall. If you try to move through the Prismatic Wall, you will take 10d6 points of fire damage, 10d6 points of acid damage, 10d6 points of lightning damage, 10d6 points of poison damage, 10d6 points of cold damage. You will also risk getting restrained and be blinded. I can't even say all the things without losing my breath. That is a total of 50d6 points of energy damage, which is an average of 175 damage on a failed save, or 87.5 damage if you succeed on every save. So you get a saving throw for each layer. So a player also has to roll 7 saves. Every hostile creature within 20 feet of the wall also has to make a constitution save each turn or be blinded. So not only is this spell incredibly powerful, it also takes forever to actually resolve it. So how do you counter it? Well, you give your NPC some kind of teleport ability like Misty Step, or you do as I did. So the player targeted my evil wizard, and I had that evil wizard's bodyguard grapple another player character, and I threw that player character into the wall. That didn't per se counter the spell, but it did make the player think twice after that before using it again, because he knew it can be used against him.
Number 4. Force Cage.
So number 4 is Force Cage. This spell is another spell with no saves allowed, which is annoying, ridiculous and boring. With Force Cage you can create a cage or a solid box. The versatility of this spell is huge. It can lock down both casters and fighters. The cage version makes any melee character a living piñata. Shut up! God, I hate mariachi bands. The solid box version locks down any enemy spellcaster. You can't leave the force by any non-magical means. If you try to teleport out of it, you have to succeed on a charisma saving throw. And as we all know, the big bad orc boss has a fantastic charisma saving throw and can of course teleport. Not only that, if you fail the charisma save, then you waste your spell slot altogether. You can't dispel it with Dispel Magic, and it reaches into the ethereal plane, blocking any ethereal travel. Also, this spell has a 100 feet range, so it is nigh impossible to stay out of range from it. The spell itself has a duration of 1 hour. So how do you counter it? Counterspell or teleportation again. In case of the latter, then you better hope that your NPC has a good charisma save, else you're fucked and might have to fudge the save or admit defeat.
Number 3.5, like it or not.
This is one of the strongest spells in the entire game. Let's have a look at it. It says, every viewer watching this video feels a strange power taking over their feelings. They must immediately press the like button unless they succeed on a wisdom saving throw. Just kidding. If you like this video so far, then please click the like button to help spread this video to more people. On to the top 3.
Number 3, resurrection spells.
So number 3 is resurrection spells in general, not a single spell. If you can be resurrected, then death has no meaning. And if death has no meaning, there is no risk in engaging in combat. Why would a player fear hurling himself straight through a prismatic wall when the party's cleric is ready to cast Revivify followed up by a heal spell? It kinda defeats the purpose of fearing death. Besides, it is already very difficult to die in 5th edition compared to systems like Pathfinder or 3.5. Sure, most resurrection spells takes 1 hour to cast, but Revivify takes only 1 action and requires only diamonds worth 300 gold. Countering resurrection is a little bit different, since it depends on which type of resurrection magic we talk about. When it comes to Revivify, you could limit how easy it is to obtain diamonds. You could also drag the body away or dismember it, since Revivify doesn't restore lost body parts. So if the character has lost an arm, then a player probably won't want his character back. If the character was decapitated, then Revivify won't work. With Reincarnate, not all players want to change race. And when it comes to spells like Raise Stead, Resurrection or True Resurrection, common for all of them is that they are touch spells and they require a body. If there is no body, then you can't resurrect. Or you could do as I did. I took the dead player, obviously, I mean the dead player's character. Or did I? No, I took him aside and told him about the afterlife, that it was paradise, and everything just felt peaceful. That made the player decide that his character wouldn't want to return. Because remember, all resurrection magic also requires the target to be willing.
Number 2, simulacrum.
So second to last, we have Simulacrum. You create a copy of a character, and it takes 12 hours and costs 1,500 gold pieces. The duplicate has the same statistics as the one duplicated, except it has half the creature's hit points and no equipment. It is also a level 7 spell, and you can only have 1 active. The Simulacrum is fairly easy to deal with. You can dispel it. Most often, duplicated is the caster himself, so it's also easy to kill. Or you could have an anti-magic zone. So there are no rules specifically mentioning whether or not anti-magic zone affects the Simulacrum. So it's up to you as the DM to decide. But it is magically created, so you could have the Simulacrum wink out of existence. The Simulacrum also has access to any spells who the duplicated had access to. So if the caster is level 17 and duplicates himself, then it has access to 9th level spells. You basically just doubled your amount of spells. That is so stupid. I mean, who wouldn't want 2 wish spells? Which leads me on to the final spell on this list.
Number 1, wish.
So number 1 on this list is Wish. This is by most people considered the most powerful spell in all of Dungeons and Dragons. Even the spell itself says so. It says in the very first sentence of the spell, Wish is the mightiest spell a mortal creature can cast. Wish can duplicate any spell from any spell list of 8th level or lower as an action, and you don't need to meet the requirements for the spell, including any material components. So it gives the caster an insane versatility. it also has some other effects like granting resistance to one damage type or healing a target up to full health. But any effect other than the replicate effect will also seriously hurt the caster, since the caster will have his strength score set to 3 for 2d4 days. Also, each time the caster casts a spell until he finishes a long rest, he takes 1d10 points of necrotic damage per level of that spell. In order to restore his strength, he must rest 1 full day for each strength score he lost, doing nothing but light activity. Wish doesn't really have a counter, except Counterspell. And I can promise you that if you use Counterspell against the player's wish, that player will hate your guts. So instead, you just gotta learn to live with it, or hope for those 33% chance that the character will lose wish forever. Now if you disagree with the spells on this list, then please let me know down in the comments below which spells you think should have been on this list. I promised you a bonus spell. The honorable mention is Arcane Eye. This spell is not so much game breaking as it is just a serious nuisance. We even use that word, nuisance. It's a strange word, isn't it? So let's see what it says. You create an invisible magical eye within range that hovers in the air for the duration. You mentally receive visual information from the eye, which has normal vision and dark vision out to 30 feet. The eye can look in every direction, and there is no limit to how far away from you the eye can move. So the problem with this spell is that it can reveal an entire dungeon if you don't prepare for it. It is very easy to counter. A simple door is enough, but in an open cave system, you need to be aware of the potential of Arcane Eye, because else you might as well hand out the map to that large drow dungeon in the Underdark that you spend countless hours designing for your players. I hope that this video can help you so you won't have a boss encounter ruined because you were caught off guard. Thank you for watching and keep on nerding.